A new dedicated space for independent cinema opened this week in Singapore, and its organisers are optimistic that it will serve audiences. They've seen attendance at local film festivals and independent screenings grow nearly 3 times since before the pandemic amid more collaborations. Bahajjaj tells us more.
A bright spot for the independent cinema scene in Singapore with the launch of a dedicated space for local and international films, a much-needed boost after a string of cinema closures in 2025. SFS Somerset will screen up to 8 films on a fixed schedule every week at Golden Village's Cineleisure Hall 6. The year-long experiment builds on over 30 years of collaborating on seasonal film festivals and one-off indie screenings.
The most conducive spaces in which to show and watch movies tend to be commercial spaces because that's what they're designed and built for. At the same time, I think in the current environment and recent environment of cinemas in Singapore, everyone has been looking for new out-of-the-box ways to do things. Whether it's innovative food and beverage, right? Premium seating, child and toddler-friendly cinema halls where the lights never go off fully. But it's also very important between seemingly unrelated parts of the ecosystem. If I'm a community center and I write to XYZ movie distribution company and I say, look, I'm interested in doing something. It is to encourage families to bond across generations. Would you happen to have, even if it's not a new film, something in your library, something among the movies whose rights you own that speaks to this multi-generation theme? There's a chance to use it, screen it again for something, for a purpose that's meaningful.
The Singapore Film Society already knows there's healthy demand for its offerings. Annual attendance for its festivals and screenings tripled to nearly 30,000 people last year, compared to before the pandemic. Festival themes include films from countries like Japan, Australia and China. It's also experimented with programming short films and stories about people with intellectual disabilities.
So there's also this spillover discoverability. Film festivals attract perhaps a different profile of audiences coming in, but because we hold all our film festivals in cinemas, multi-screen cinema complexes, they go in and say, oh wow, there's this movie as well. I just saw the video trailer. We've got a bit of time. Why don't we catch our festival film first or next, and then catch this other film as well? So I think there's a cross-pollination of sorts that happens.
The Singapore International Film Festival has also seen ticket sales jump by a third in the past year. A record 44 screenings were also sold out last year, the most in its 36-year history.
I think people are now seeking for experiences. So I think a film festival like ours operate very savvily within the experience economy, where people want to pay money and feel like they're going for not just a screening, but for everything that comes around it, which is, again, the fervor, the Q&As, the meet and greets, and be amongst fellow cinema lovers to experience the love of cinema together.
We have seen alternative screening arrangements come up. With that interest that you've seen, like, why is it still the case that a place like the Projector had to close?
If market rate rental costs and overhead was part of the equation that the Projector had to deal with, then in a territory like Singapore, it's very difficult for something like that to be financially sustainable. Some of the hall sizes, the cinema seating capacity sizes, were quite large. And even the newest mainstream blockbusters, pre-pandemic, pre-streaming, don't always fill those capacities. It's maybe easier to say this on hindsight, but keeping to smaller, more intimate venues, I think is one way to build it. And then over time, you see what happens.
Cineleisure's Hall 6 has just 66 seats. SFS Somerset will use it at no rental cost.
Looking ahead, what does a more resilient and sustainable future for Singapore's cinema-going experience look like? Cinemas
still prevail. When the closure of the Projector was announced, people said cinemas are doomed forever in this country. Cafe Cineplexes closed. What happened? With 2 remaining commercial cinema operators, what are they doing as we speak? They're expanding. opening or planning to open new locations, taking over some of the locations that the former operators are no longer running. Why would large profit-making conglomerates do that? In a country of going out culture, where we all want air conditioning places in shopping malls, people still want to watch, but there must be good content and enough variety. I think the crux of it is seeding a way of life, a habit, a norm in the community at large. That this is part of what we do. We need more of a multicultural, multinational makeup, repertoire, kaleidoscope of movies available for people in Singapore to watch. Then government funding will be icing on the cake, not the basic batter with which to bake the cake.